Hi, we are live for our emergency fund discussion. All right, so I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to join us. Again, today we are going to be talking about the building your emergency fund and how you can do that. So we are going to get started in just a few seconds. I hope everyone is excited about Friday as much as I am. I am so happy it's Friday, and I'm really looking forward to discussing emergency funds with you. Okay, so in this discussion, if you enjoy what you're hearing, please provide me with a thumbs up so you can see it on the right hand side. So definitely I look forward to engagement and I can't wait to talk to you guys. All right, so without further ado, we are about to get started. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit with you about my week. So this has been one of the craziest weeks for me ever. And that's because on one of the days this week, I walked into to our house and I heard a noise. And the noise was coming from the utility room. And then I discovered that there was water shooting out of our water heater. So that was extremely scary. And I just wasn't sure what to do. I tried to turn off all of the water. So one thing you definitely, if you ever experience something similar, you need to know how to turn off the water supply in your house. So I turned off every valve that I could that supplied water. I was able to turn off all the water to all the sinks and the faucets. But unfortunately, that wasn't the water valve for the water heater. And just the water was shooting out of the top of the water heater. And I eventually had to get a shop vac, and I continued because the floor had flooded, and I continued to try to soak up as much water as I could, but the valve to the water heater was actually broken, and I wasn't able to turn it off. And I called my husband, I called my home warranty, I went over to a neighbor's house. I tried to get all the help I could to turn the valve off. And hours later, I was able to get in touch with a local plumbing company, and they came and turned the valve off. So unfortunately, this week our floors were flooded, and I had to have people come and take up all the hardwood floors. And so that's kind of the emergency that we're dealing with this week. So that's a major emergency. And that's one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with you, because when you have something like that happen to you in your home, you really need to have an emergency fund, because it's a lot of money to deal with water issues. Water issues are extremely costly, and a lot of times you can go through your homeowner's insurance. If you have a home warranty, you can the home warranty isn't going to fix secondary damage. They'll definitely help you with the appliance, but they're not going to help you fix secondary damage. So you'll probably have to go through both, like I did. And so you'll also need to have funds on the side to pay for your homeowner's insurance deductible. And you're also going to have to pay for your home warranty deductible as well. So every time you use your home warranty, you will have to pay the service technician who comes to the house. And with your homeowner's insurance, there will be an adjuster that comes out. You'll have to pay your deductible in order to get all of those things taken care of. So if you're trying to make ends meet, and you're a small business owner, you're a parent, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a family person, how do you have extra money to put aside for an emergency fund? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Thanks, David, for joining me for today's discussion. So, one of the things that you can do in order to save money, you can cut back on buying certain things that you don't need. So you can kind of look at your budget and evaluate what are the things that are necessary. So you can look at your needs and your wants, and you can decide, okay, some of these things are wants and they're not necessary for us to have. And you can cut those things off the list. So one of the things that we don't do often that is a want is going to restaurants. So for us, the money that we would put aside for going to restaurants often, we actually use that money and put it in our emergency fund. Another area that you can find extra money to put in your emergency fund is if you go and like a fitness club. You can actually probably buy different fitness equipment and use it in your home instead of buying a membership, especially if you're not the type that goes to a gym regularly. That's probably not the best use of your funds. So you should put that money aside into your emergency fund for a later date. So that's something to keep in mind. Another area that can give you more money for your emergency fund is meal planning. Now, I know a lot of people don't like meal planning, but it is definitely very critical and can really help you save money because most families, one of the largest budget items is food. And so if you're taking time to plan what you're going to make and what you're going to cook on your own, you can put that extra money aside. So for us, we often use, we don't use them too often because I buy a lot of produce and you can't really use coupons. But one of the things that I said to myself, whenever I have extra savings, so I use like store savings card, when I see at the bottom of my receipt how much I saved, I often put that aside. Like at the end of the month, I'll add all those things, all the savings up from my receipts and say, okay, so I've saved, $52. Let me put this aside into my emergency fund. So if you're looking for extra money to have to put aside to add to your emergency fund, those are some creative ways that you can come up with extra money. And another way you can also have extra money is to do an extra job on the side. So a lot of people will talk to you about having more than one stream of income. If you have a talent and you can barter your services, or you can actually save money by bartering your services or charging for a skill that you have. So if you're able to tutor people's children, that's one way to make extra money. There's a variety of different ways, but you just kind of have to evaluate, what am I good at? What can I do that will bring in some extra money? And you can use that extra money and put it and add it to your emergency fund. That can give you some extra cash so that if something major goes wrong, you won't be looking distraught and feeling extra stress because the situation in and of itself is already stressful. So you'll want to put things aside you'll want to put money aside and have extra jobs to put money aside for your emergency fund. Let me know if you guys have any questions about emergency funds. I'm sure everybody kind of agrees that emergency funds are important. I know for people who have jobs, and like if you have a car, things can go wrong with your car. So you want to put money aside for car emergencies, for regular maintenance. And maintenance is so important so that it can kind of help minimize your emergencies to some degree. Emergencies happen, so you're not going to be able to get rid of emergencies entirely, but you don't want them to happen every year. Once in a while they can come. And so you want to just prepare yourself beforehand. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that I've mentioned so far. One is using coupons or using store cards to budget your money so that you can put it aside for emergencies. Another thing that I talked about was having an extra skill. So if you have a skill that you can use to make new money or barter, that's something that you'll want to do in order to make a little extra cash to put into your emergency fund. Another thing that I mentioned was cutting back on things you don't need. Definitely. Even if budgeting isn't your thing, kind of evaluate what services do you use. You want to look like if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily need to get their nails done often, but you can do them yourself. Definitely, that can be money that you can keep on your own and put towards your emergency fund. For me, I don't get my hair done. I don't go to the salon, so I put that money, I do my hair myself, and I put that money into my emergency fund so that if something major happens, like it did for us this week, we'll have money to put aside to definitely make that situation less stressful and be able to pay for things as they come up. Another thing that I mentioned was so you want to make your needs and your wants list. You want to look and see, buy less. Don't buy things you don't need. And kind of evaluate that way. Those are some ways that you can have extra cash for emergency funds. And I think one of the cool things is to look at your receipt and kind of see how much did you save, because we're always saving in some ways, and you can add those savings up and you can put them aside for you to put in your emergency fund. So those are just a few creative ways. I just want to share one more creative way with you, and that's if you are a type of person who uses credit cards. Now, I'm not advising people to use credit cards, especially people who don't have a lot of restraint. So if credit cards get you in trouble, this is not one way for you. But if you're very disciplined and you're able to pay your credit card bill off in full each month, many credit cards offer credit card rewards. So when you use your card, you can actually earn points, and those points can be used to go to often cash or gift cards. So it can help you spend less money out of pocket. But again, I don't recommend that you use credit cards if you are not the type of person who pays off your bill in full. That's with zero balance every month. So don't carry a balance, but if you can discipline yourself, that is one of the ways that you can actually earn extra money. That's one of the ways that I earn extra money to buy other things that I need by using my credit card points. So it's kind of like free money. So these have been some creative tips on how to fund your emergency fund. Definitely let me know if you have any questions. Hi, Zarifa. Thanks so much for joining us. We were just kind of wrapping up our discussion about emergency funds, some creative ways to save for emergency funds. I definitely encourage everybody that is listening to save for your emergency funds, because you never know what is going to happen, and it's almost guaranteed that at some point something is going to happen where you're going to need to have an emergency fund. So just kind of evaluate what's going on, the type of things that you spend, and evaluate, what can I cut back on? What can I use? How can I use my money wisely in order to save? So definitely fund your emergency funds so that when a crisis arises, like it did for us this week, you'll have money set aside for you to take care and handle that. So you want to kind of look and see how much you spend every month, and you want to have at least 6 months of that set aside in your emergency fund. So everybody's emergency fund savings account is going to be different. So everybody isn't going to have the same amount of money because all of us have different monthly expenses. But definitely add up your monthly expenses and kind of see how much can be, how much you need to have a 6 months supply in your emergency funds. A lot of times people discuss emergency funds and they think about, a job loss and things like that. And that is true. But even when you have a job, things can arise that will cause you to use a large amount of money. So definitely have that money set aside and continually contribute to it. So if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/cleverlychanging. You can reach out to me on Instagram at cleverlychanging. Also on Twitter, I'm on Twitter at cleverlychanging without the G. That's CLEVERLYCHANGING. Oh, there's no G at the end on Twitter because it's too many characters. But definitely look me up. Let me know if you have any questions. Fund your emergency fund, and it'll help you lessen and reduce the stress in your life. All right, I will see you later, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Remember, tune in next week when we will be talking about a different topic. I'll definitely share that topic earlier in the week so that you guys can tune in. So it's every Friday. Finance Fridays Lives is every Friday at 12:30. All right, I will talk to you later. Thanks so much, David and Zarifa, for joining us. And if anyone else is on, definitely, I thank you for joining us. All right.